good morning or evening to any person who may be watching this. Today, I thought I would dive a little bit into the past and talk about a movie that came out a couple years ago. This is going to be my movie critique on The Last Jedi. Star Wars The Last Jedi came out on December 15th, 2017. Directed by Rian Johnson, The Last Jedi is the second movie of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, starring Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, among others. There will be spoilers here for anyone wondering, so in case you for some reason haven't watched this super popular 3-year-old movie, this is your one and only warning. In my opinion, The Last Jedi was an interesting movie, to say the least. I'm gonna be honest here. I didn't think that this was a really good Star Wars movie. I am willing, however, to point out what I did think was good about it as well, even if that might only take 30 seconds. I'm going to be splitting this video into 3 parts: the good, the bad, and the ugly. And oh, how it gets so ugly. So, just to prove that I do think there are some good scenes in this movie, I'm going to start with the good. Most of the good in this movie comes from its graphics. So, for example, the battle that Rey and Kylo had against the Praetorian Guards looked amazing. The contrast between the red room and guards against the blue lightsaber that Rey was holding and the dark black clothing of Kylo really made this scene stand out to me. I know that if you look into it and slow the footage down, you can see there are some problems with the choreography. The guards will sometimes miss the 2 main characters by a million miles for no real reason. But overall, I didn't notice those things when I was first watching it. I just thought it was a really great scene. To be honest, I think that this is my favorite scene in the whole movie. Another scene which I really loved was the standoff between Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren. So if it wasn't for the story implications that came with this scene, which I'll talk about a little bit later, I think that this would be one of the best scenes in the whole trilogy for me. Alright, now on to our biggest category of the film, the bad. Now, get ready, because I'm going to name a bunch of things really quickly for the sake of not being here for an hour. Alright, you ready? Alright, the disappearance of R2-D2. I think R2-D2 should have been more involved in the film. This is something small compared to a lot of the stuff in this film, but I loved R2-D2. R2-D2 has always been great, always will be great. Don't get me wrong, BB-8 is also a great addition, but you didn't have to then basically erase R2-D2 from the movie. You only had 1 or 2 scenes. And that's it. Kylo destroying his mask. I'm mentioning this mostly because it is just another little thing, but I personally just really don't like this decision. I think Kylo Ren looked so cool with his mask. Just look at him. Look at him. This guy looks like he'll kill you. This guy, on the other hand, this guy looks like he's asking you if you can get his ball that he kicked into your yard. I thought that he should have almost never taken his mask off, or maybe just a little bit near the end of the film. It would have really helped his look and make him look much more menacing and deadly during the film. Finn's character arc does not progress in any real way, and he was pretty boring. General Hux, this big scary leader guy from the last film who had a speech in front of 1 million soldiers before they blew up countless planets, he's now a joke. And he gets immediately made a fool of by Poe, and Poe simply pretends like he can't hear him when they're talking to each other. And Hux actually ends up believing him. And after that, once Hux fails to capture the rebels or destroy them, he immediately gets dragged around the floor by a holocron of their supreme leader, Snoke. Hux is just considered a comedic relief after, in the last film, he was this big menacing leader guy. Okay, I think that's most of the smaller, fast stuff. Now I'll get into some of the stuff that I find, anyway, is more important. So, I'm going to start off with Captain Phasma. So, Captain Phasma had a look which gave her character the potential to become a new fan favorite. Maybe even a new Boba Fett, a sort of side character who's powerful, but all the fans love, mostly because they're super cool. Captain Phasma had that shine on her armor, which just made her entirely stand out. And honestly, I think she was entirely wasted by this film. In the previous movie, they had set up a sort of rivalry between Finn and Captain Phasma, because Finn used to be Captain Phasma's soldier before he defected. And then, instead of slowly setting this up and maybe having Phasma even beat Finn in this film to have to give Finn the chance to win in the next film, Finn just easily defeated Phasma and killed her in the second movie of a trilogy of movies. That just doesn't make any sense to me. The next part would be Leia's space flying. After getting blown into outer space by Kylo Ren, in my opinion, she probably should have died there. She, without any sort of spacesuit, stays alive in outer space and then somehow pulls herself back to safety with the Force. I mean, up until this point, Leia had never shown or been able to use the Force at all. And if she could use the Force this whole time, why would she only choose to use it now? We've also never seen anyone pull themselves towards something with the Force. It was a very weird scene, and it seemed to me like it was lazy. They were trying to add some sort of drama, but they didn't want to get rid of Carrie Fisher. It's a scene that, you can look back on it a million times. It really will never make sense. In any other Star Wars media and in the movies and everything, you had to have, they didn't ignore that. They didn't ignore, you had to wear a spacesuit of some sort. You had to have some sort of protection in outer space. It's obviously not really realistic, but still, they realized you can't just be out there walking. So it really never makes sense in any way you look at it. Okay, so Rose. So I know I'm not the only one who's got a lot of problems with Rose. I think one of the biggest problems is probably the last or the most climactic scene that she has in the film. But I'll talk about that in a sec. But Rose immediately goes from being this super excited and nervous to talk to Finn when she first meets him. She regards Finn as this sort of rebellion hero, and she almost, she talks to almost no one in the first place, and now she's talking to this big hero star, and then goes on to complete missions with him and almost die a bunch and act, completely normal, as if Finn was an old friend or something, or a fellow soldier that she works with often. And that last scene, her big climactic scene of the movie, made no sense. The First Order was about to break into the bunker where the rebels were hiding, and the rebels at that point had no escape. They had no way to actually get out of that bunker, and so they were trapped. And this big cannon was about to blow open their door, the door that's in between them and the First Order. And now Finn goes on this heroic rush towards the cannon, planning to fly his speeder, his ship, into the cannon itself, destroying the cannon and giving the rebels time to try and find an escape route or to counterattack or something. Instead of allowing Finn to save the hundreds of people inside the bunker, Rose crashes her ship into Finn's ship, and stopping him from sacrificing himself. She then justifies this by saying, the way we're going to win is not by killing what we hate, but saving what we love. That makes no sense, does it? If you think about it, Rose knew that what was about to happen. So she just basically willingly saved Finn because she's in love with Finn, and allowed the remainder of the rebellion to die, or what should have been to die, obviously. In the end, they were saved anyway, and nothing really mattered. But she knowingly allowed the First Order to get to the rebellion. It doesn't make any sense. Rose was a very, very annoying character to a lot of people. The Luke green milk scene. This is the scene where Luke decides to show Rey sort of around the island that he's living on. I really want to know who actually thought that this scene would be a good idea. Who? I want to know. I want to talk to them, but it's almost like Rian Johnson told the writer's room there are no bad ideas, and then added every single idea to the film. Who really thought that this was a good way to portray, almost millions of people's childhood heroes after being absent for decades? This is the Luke Skywalker, not this Luke Skywalker. No, he's gone. You have this Luke Skywalker now. Oh my God. Alright, so now we're getting into the uglies. These are the things that I think really actually ruins the story of sometimes some of these were even ruining Star Wars as a whole, and others just this movie in particular. So let's get started, I guess. Okay, so this first thing, to be honest, I think it's the most sort of universe-breaking mistake or thing that this movie did, and that's going to be the Holdo maneuver. So I'll be honest, and I'll be the first one to say this looked amazing, with the streaks of light going through these huge dark shapes. It looked really good. And then I remember thinking in the movie theater, wow, and it went super quiet, and then you just saw these huge, beautiful streaks of light going through the enemy's ships. But if you think about it, for more than 2 seconds, it really breaks or ruins any space combat in all of Star Wars. It ruins it. If this was possible, why the hell has it not been done before? All of these star battles in the past against other enemies and throughout all these movies, if you were in outer space, you had these big ship battles. Why was this not done before? What actually happened was one of the captains of the rebels, Holdo, she was the only one left on the rebel ship, so she turned the ship around and hyperspaced, so really super fast travel, hyperspaced the ship through the enemy fleet and destroyed a whole bunch of them. If this was possible, why couldn't people on both sides just launch ships at each other? Launch ships even with no people in them, and just launch them at the other side, destroying any fleets they might have. It ruins space combat in the whole franchise. There's no point to it anymore. You think back and watching all those close star battles, none of them matter. These guys are all idiots. They could have just shot a ship through and it would have destroyed everything and you'd be fine. I think that's really what this movie did a lot of, was it favored things that looked good in the moment, and in the moment you were like, oh yeah. But then when you take a step back and try and actually understand the story, it ruins it, or it doesn't make any sense. So another thing that's just, maybe specific to this trilogy of movies, during one of the climactic scenes of this movie, Kylo Ren kills his master, Supreme Leader Snoke. Now, I don't see any situation in which killing off your main villain in the second movie of a trilogy of movies works. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I mean, it makes no sense from a storytelling perspective. All of this was building up to the final. Killing off your main villain, your biggest, most horrible, evil villain in the final movie makes a lot of sense. Killing him off in the first movie, then, I guess he wouldn't really be your main villain. He'd be a pawn in another villain's plan or something. But this makes no sense. This leaves the last movie, and that last movie has to find a new villain, build him up, and then kill him off as well. All in one film. It was really a waste. We also never actually learned who the heck Snoke was. I mean, in the first film, he was this big, mysterious character, very powerful, very ominous. In this movie, he dies. We learn nothing about his backstory. How did he get here? How did he become so powerful? How did he get this army of the First Order? We learn nothing. Okay. So this is the big one. I think this is the single thing this movie did the very, very worst. And that was the treatment of Luke Skywalker. So, Luke Skywalker was the guy who found good in Darth Vader, right, in the original trilogy. Darth Vader was the most evil person you could think of. He was behind the deaths of millions. He killed children even. All of this, he was the feared and most evil guy in the galaxy. All of this, and Luke Skywalker still was able to find good in him. That is who Luke Skywalker was and probably still should be. That is the Luke Skywalker plenty of people have grown up with. For millions, right? So the way to bring Luke Skywalker back to the big screen was not to make him a total loser. Was not to make him an angry old hermit on an island. Things, just even like some of the smaller things, like when he was handed his lightsaber by Rey, he immediately threw it away. That's not Luke Skywalker. Luke was told that Han Solo died, his best friend from the original trilogies, and he was surprised for about one scene, and then next time we saw him, he was entirely fine again. He says to Rey, it's time for the Jedi to end. All of these small things are that's not who Luke Skywalker was. And the thing is, it's not that you can't change characters. Obviously, people will change. But the thing that they had to do, if they wanted to do this, was show it. They had to show Luke Skywalker slowly descending into this old hermit guy. And then maybe have him have a redemption near the end. You have to have a character slowly change their personality over a sequence of maybe scenes, but even movies in a trilogy. You can't just have him all of a sudden be this entirely different person than the last time you saw him. It doesn't work, and it's clear that it doesn't work because so many people hated this Luke Skywalker. I think the single thing that just entirely killed his character more than anything else was the fact that we found out Luke Skywalker, again, the guy who found good in the most evil man in the galaxy, tried to kill one of his pupils in their sleep, who was a child, by the way, because he thought that they might turn to the dark side. That's not Luke Skywalker. And it never will be. It never will be, This was a huge mistake. Rian Johnson said he wanted to subvert expectations, but this is obviously not the way to do it. And I think that's why this movie will go down as the worst Star Wars movie to ever be made. That's all I've got for now. I thought overall this was the worst Star Wars film I've seen, but it had its good parts. Doesn't look like it was very well thought out, but anyways, that's all for now, and I'll catch you guys later.